Hey there, it's Angela Hochman, your host of In the Kitchen on STL TV, where we work to just give you a little glimpse into the amazing, delightful, and delicious St. Louis food scene. So today, okay, as you can see, there's a lot of fun fall stuff going on in front of me. I brought on Chef Mindy Jahn from MJ's Feast. You are MJ.
I am. Thank you so much, Angela, for having me.
Of course, of course. I was delighted to know that you would be on the show. Chef, I gotta ask, what are we gonna cook up today?
Well, today we're gonna make one of my favorite fall dishes because fall is just around the corner, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of done with summer. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for a football season and all the
warm,
pumpkins,
savory.
the warm, savory. So we're gonna do a roasted acorn squash that's topped with a fall saute of lacinato kale. It's got some crispy bacon, some honey crisp, and some cremini mushroom.
Holy cow. That is absolutely like fall in a bowl.
Exactly.
However we're going to have it presented. Wow. So I'd love to hear just what all does MJ's Feast cover? You are a personal chef, you do events. Talk to me a little bit about your business model.
Well, I've been a chef for about 30 years. I've been in the St. Louis area and then out to Washington State, and then I've come back to Missouri just in 2020. But I started the business last year because I have at times been a personal chef, and I really wanted to, offer meal solutions for busy families. So I do meal prep, I do, personal chefing in people's homes, and I also cater events and retreats.
That's amazing. You really do make people's lives easier because it takes the guesswork out of what am I gonna make? What am I gonna do? I wanna make sure everyone can eat everything, no matter what sort of dietary restrictions you might have.
Absolutely, and that's actually my specialty because I'm a celiac. I got diagnosed with celiac disease in 2010, which means that my body does not process gluten at all. And so I absolutely went through a mourning process where I was like, what? I can't eat baked goods. I can't, I was a baker. I like to bake and, all the Christmas things and things you love to bake. But it's just been a challenge for me. So I learned very quickly how to adapt and to make things gluten-free. And so I offer services that if you come to me with, I'm allergic to dairy, or I follow, an advanced immune protocol diet, or whatever the case may be, I'm truly happy to help anyone that struggles with those things.
That is a really, really cool aspect to MJ's Feast, because I can imagine it is hard to find delicious things that also your body can tolerate.
Absolutely.
So let's get started with this. I can't not be moving when there's food in front of me.
So I got acorn squash here, and I wanted to stress that you really can use any kind of squash. Acorn's probably one of my favorites. There is a place out in Washington State where you can get just a buttered acorn squash when you're out in the pumpkin patch, and sprinkle some curry powder on it. It's amazing. But acorn squash, sometimes people are a little daunted by squash because they're hard. So this guy you want to cut it through the stem. So what we're going to do, and I'm just going to show you, you want to get that knife kind of started in there, and then it's really more of a, You
mean business, chef.
You're going to open that up. So normally they're a lot more orange. It's a little early right now, but again, we were getting excited about fall, so we wanted to go ahead and get that done. So we're just gonna cut this guy in half, and then we're gonna scoop out the seeds. So if you wanna do the honors of scooping out the seeds,
shall we?
Get some olive oil.
How did you come up with this dish? It's so savory, and it's all of the ingredients I've had separately, but perhaps not together.
Well, a friend of mine out in Washington told me, she said, hey, my favorite dish, I was asking, what's your favorite dish one time? And she said, this one I just call fall. And she told me, she said, it's kale with some mushrooms and some honey crisp. Well, I decided to add some garlic, some shallots, and to add this acorn squash to it because I just think it kind of rounded out the dish completely. So props to my friend Bonnie in Washington.
Yes, Bonnie in Washington. Thanks for your inspiration. And I like that you put your twist on it.
Yeah. And so we're going to take this guy, and it's pretty simple. You know, this is the thing that takes the longest for this dish is roasting the acorn squash,
Yeah,
right? Everything else is super fast. So we're going to just put a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to rub it all over, you know, this guy. So we want it to be all on the cut surfaces. And we're going to do the same thing with this guy. And then we'll get that little piece out of there.
Check my work always before you trust me.
And we're just going to basically rub this guy down. And if you don't have, you know, if you've got olive oil pan spray, that works too, to get it nice and even around there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to this guy.
Can I do this one?
Yes, please do.
I love it.
And a little bit of pepper. And this is just a little smoked paprika that we're putting on there. You could also use curry powder or anything that you really like. It brings out that nice smokiness that's going to add to the bacon and the sweetness of the apples. And before I go into that detail, you're going to put this face down or cut side down.
What about cumin? Would that be good?
Cumin would be great, yeah. Really anything that you like, what spices you like. And then these pop into the oven, and they're going to go into about a 400-degree oven. And, you know, it depends on the size of the squash, 30 minutes at least, and you want it to be soft to the touch before you pull it off. So we're going to set that aside for a second. And I will tell you, as far as services go, I cook currently for 2 families, and I go in once a week and I do their grocery shopping. I cook all the, you know, it's a format of what they want, you know, and I cook everything from scratch. I also do catering and events and retreats, and I offer a pickup menu a couple times a month for people that just want to try out some of the food.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
so if they, for whatever reason, don't want to commit just yet to, we want you cooking for us weekly, or we want you to do our holiday party every year, they can try a few.
Yeah, because they want to make sure, you know, is this person really going to?
Yeah. Well, I can say yes, you are legit. Has culinary just been like in your blood forever?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been, I went to the Cooking Hospitality Institute in Chicago.
Ooh.
I've been cooking since I was 5 years old. I mean, I was in 4-H. I won a blue ribbon for my banana bread back in the day.
Did you bring any of that? I love banana bread.
But, you know, I've worked in and around St. Louis. I worked for Bon Appetit Management Company at WashU for 4 years.
Wow.
I was the stadium club chef for the St. Louis Cardinals for a couple of years. And we're going to go ahead and
keep bragging.
Absolutely.
Don't ever stop that.
So,
but I'm hungry. So
yeah.
Sure we're moving along.
So we're going to start off with some bacon. And, you know, any of your, whatever your favorite kind of bacon is, but this is a maple bourbon smoked bacon, because I thought, you know what, it'll go really well with the squash. It's about 4 ounces or 4 slices of bacon is all we need.
Oh my, it's so thick too.
Yeah, I like the thick cut bacon, because then when it crisps up, you've got some substantial bacon. You know, bacon shrinks down, right? All that fat starts to go away and it crisps up.
But then you can use it. I like, you know, repurposing.
Absolutely. And, you know, it really depends on the bacon itself as to how much fat is going to be rendered off. So you may need to drain a little bit of the fat off, or if there's not a lot of fat in the pan, you can just leave it, because we're going to saute several other items. Ooh. So I think the recipe that we put up will say, hey, pour off some of the renderings, but you may not need to, depending on how much fat comes out of that bacon.
Okay, so it's a slice, case
Absolutely.
Here. But if you are feeling wild at home, wanting to just make this at your house, like she said, you can use kind of what you've got, different versions of mushrooms if you don't have those, a different variation of a squash.
Absolutely.
So yeah, try it at home if you want. If you don't want, I'm probably just going to go straight to you.
Right.
I trust you more than myself.
You know, pancetta would be delicious in this. So you definitely can use any kind of bacon. And we're going to be, as soon as this crisps up, come on in here. As soon as we crisp that up, we're going to add some shallots and garlic to that. I choose a shallot as opposed to an onion because it's a little sweeter.
Really?
Yeah, it is just a slightly sweeter than like a red onion or something.
Okay.
And then, you know, kale itself can be a little bit bitter, but it absolutely is like the most nutrient-dense food out there, I think, except for maybe acai berries. Yeah.
Vitamins.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to let this saute. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about who is Mindy Jahn behind MJ's Feast, and how is this all going to come together? I got to see it because it looks and smells delicious. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in a flash.
Is it okay to call you Mom? Of course you can.
Welcome back to In the Kitchen. Now, when Chef Mindy and I left off, we were just, you know, sauteing up some bacon. I say we, you were doing all the work. I was just stirring, sort of. But okay, so Chef Mindy from MJ's Feast, we are making this delightful, yummy roasted acorn squash situation that we're just gonna call fall.
Absolutely. And you can see that the bacon is nice and crisp now. So we want it crisp. Now you can drain off some of that bacon renderings if you like. This one didn't have a ton, so we're gonna leave it in for right now. We are gonna add it's about 4 cloves of garlic and a shallot. And we're gonna let that saute up a little bit. And then you can really add any kind of mushroom that you like. I've got some baby bellows or creminis here, but I've done this with chanterelles, I've done this with shiitakes. So it could be any mushroom that you like. It's kind of great for if you've got those mushrooms left over in your fridge that you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with these?
This is what you do with
that. Absolutely. So we're gonna get those sauteing. We wanna get the mushrooms to brown just a little bit.
Okay.
And kind of get their natural flavors coming out. I might put just a tad salt in there to just help the flavors come out. So while that's sauteing, we wanna talk about kale. So I brought some lacinato or dinosaur kale.
Is that really what it's called?
It is, it is. And it is absolutely one of the most nutritious foods out there. So I wanted to show you guys, you know, because sometimes people are a little daunted by it. They're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this big thing? You know, so I wanted to give you a little demo. The thing is, you don't want this rib in there. Some people will cook that, but it's just not as pleasing.
I'm gonna do this along with you because I don't know how to properly deal with a dino kale.
If you hold onto the rib with your fingers and then you kind of fold these guys down a little bit and then hold tight with your right hand, you're just gonna pull it. And then you've got the rib out, right?
Whoa.
You got it.
Whoa!
Yeah. So then these ribs, I don't necessarily want those in my saute because this is a quick saute.
Get them out of here.
And you know, then you're just going to take these guys. I usually just take several of them and fold them up together.
Okay.
And then that way you can just do a quick, you know, small chiffonade of kale so that it's nice and small. Kale is great. It's high in vitamin A. It's got tons of beta carotene and tons of other antioxidants and fiber. So it's really good for you. And we're just gonna basically take this, and I just wanted to give you a quick demo on that because I, of course, by the magic of TV, already have some ready to go. So that's ready to go. And you can see that our saute is doing really well. Our mushrooms are starting to brown. It smells amazing.
Are insane.
Smells amazing. So I'm gonna add my kale to that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that the kale's getting mixed in with everything and will absorb all of like the bacon fat and things like that, because I'm not gonna lie, kale alone, I'm not gonna be snacking on that because it is just, it's a little bitter for me. But mixed in, I will eat it all day.
Absolutely, and it's gonna soften up in here. Some people like it to still have a lot of crunch, but you know, with like any green, you can cook it really to death. It's good the next day. It's gonna absorb more flavor. The only thing I add to this is just a little bit of salt and pepper. We've added some salt, and the bacon that we have is like a maple bourbon bacon, so that's gonna add a ton of flavor. So basically, you've got your delicious saute almost ready to go here. We're kind of letting that kale get softened up a little bit and still browning those mushrooms a little. And the last ingredient, and which I think is actually one of the most interesting, because in the fall, apples are in season, right?
Yeah, they are.
So this is Honeycrisp apple, and I add them at the end because I want them to get a little bit warm and a little bit browned, but I really want them to still have a crunch.
Why did you choose Honeycrisp?
It's real sweet.
Yeah.
It's real sweet and crispy. You know,
could you use like a Jazz or an Empire?
You can use anything you like.
Maybe not Granny Smith.
Granny Smiths are a little more tart, so I probably wouldn't. Yeah. But you know, Fuji's have a lot of sugar in them
Yes.
too, and you know, there's some Cosmic Crisps out there that are really good
I love
as
the
well.
name of those. I was like, that's not a real apple. Yes, it absolutely is. So let's let that,
Yes.
you know, absorb and work together
Ready
for a
to go.
second. I cannot help but notice all this lavender in front of me. What is going on?
Well, you know, when I started the business, you know, a friend of mine, she has a lavender farm in Herman. And she reached out to me and she said, hey, have you cooked with lavender much? And I said, oh, here and there, not a whole lot, but I'm always up for a challenge. And she said, I want to do a cookbook and I want you to help me write this cookbook. And I said, okay, great, let's do it. So I started developing some recipes. My daughter is a baker in Seattle, and
Wow.
she had a lavender shortbread recipe. And I said, hey, can I use your lavender shortbread, but you know, I'll change it and make it gluten-free. And she said, absolutely. And I said, well, I'm always gonna give you props and credit on that. But today I brought my most popular flavor, which is a lemon lavender. Here, let me just move this guy out of your way.
Oh, yeah, get that kale out of here.
Yeah.
We gotta focus on the lavender shortbread cookies.
Yeah, and I brought a little bit of the lavender buds as well. So this is a royal velvet lavender, which is just an amazing scent. And you know,
Yeah,
the
it is.
thing I didn't know as a chef, and I guess I should have, but a lot of times people say, oh, I don't like lavender in things, it tastes like soap. Well, the thing is, there's different varieties of lavender. So there's lavender that's culinary, and then there's lavender that's more for soaps and, you know, essential oils. and
Interesting,
things.
yes,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. So this is royal velvet, and it is a culinary lavender.
It sounds very, very
Yeah.
fancy and regal for us. So we are almost out of time, Chef.
Oh,
what do we
let's
do
plate
with
this
the
dish.
squash?
Let's plate this
Let's
dish.
put it together. You know I'm hungry.
so-
It's the best part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's our platter, and I'm just gonna bring our cutting board back up.
Yum.
And the magic of TV is gonna give us this lovely acorn squash that's ready to go here.
Okay. I will stir
All
up
right.
just a little bit more so
Stir
we're
that
good
guy
to
up.
go. I've never seen all these ingredients together. I just cannot say that enough. Do you develop all of these menu items yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, I've worked in the industry for a long time, so I try a lot of different things, and I love, you know, just trying new. I'm really very globally inspired. I cook a lot of different ethnic cuisines.
Sure.
And I worked as a private chef for an Indian family here in St. Louis.
Oh, cool.
And I love to locally source my ingredients, but try out lots of globally inspired things. So we've got our roasted butternut, or not
fascinating.
butternut, excuse me, acorn squash.
But
and
you can
that's
use
ready to go.
butternut if that's all you have.
Absolutely can. So we've got that. I just cut each one of those in half. Normally there's a lot more caramelization,
Here,
you know,
I'll get
as
out
you
of
get
your
in the
way here.
fall.
We'll switch spots.
And we're just gonna top this with our sauté, and it's gonna be ready to roll.
Getting my fork because I'm ready. I would just scoop this out of there and eat it
Yeah.
if I could, but
There you go.
wow.
It is
So this is
beautiful.
something that could be on your menu if I was like, make this for my family, please.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look at that. Isn't that pretty?
Look at that, that's gorgeous. Oh my gosh, let's take a bite.
Yeah, let's try it out.
Let's try, I gotta get the apple. I gotta get a little bit
Gotta
of
get a
everything.
little of everything.
This is fall.
Yep.
Holy moly. Wow, I've never had anything like this, ever. And I love food, I've had a lot of food. This is amazing, Chef.
Thank you.
This is just a little sample of what one can expect when they decide to work with or order some food from the wonderful and very talented chef, Mindy Jahn. Chef, thank you so much for your time today and your everything.
Thank you for having me.
Can't get enough of this. These might find their way into my car, I'm not sure.
Those are for you. Everything's for you.
Ooh, okay, we're taking these away. Sorry, can't share these. Guys, that is going to do it. Make sure that you follow MJ's Feast. Check her out online, on social media. She's got your back. Any sort of dietary anything, Chef's got you here.
Absolutely.
So make sure you follow her. She's a wonderful human. Support her how you can while you're online. Also, make sure that you check out STL TV. In the Kitchen has a Facebook page. So if you're eating out and you're like, this is the best fill in the blank I've ever had, maybe they should make it on the show. Well, drop us a note because you never know who's going to join me in the kitchen. But the next episode you won't want to miss either. We have got Milk Toast Bar. Yes, haven't heard all those 3 words together, so you got to tune in to see what's cooking. Friends, that's going to do it. I'm Angela Hochman. Thank you so much for keeping it locked on STL TV, where you get to experience St. Louis.